Parallel lives don't always begin with intention. Sometimes they grow quietly, moment by moment, choice by choice, until the world looks closer and realizes two people have been walking the same road without ever planning to. And that is exactly what has happened with Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo. For months, fans believed the two actors had drifted apart, each focused on their own careers, their own worlds, their own seemingly separate futures. But what the public didn't know was that while silence filled the space between them, something else was happening in the background, something even more surprising. Everywhere Xiao Zhan went, somehow, Wang Yibo appeared to leave footprints there first, or followed not long after. Every project, every unexpected shift in career, every new interest, the two men continued mirroring each other as if guided by the same invisible thread. Xiao Zhan had recently stepped into a new phase of his career, choosing projects grounded in emotional depth and quiet strength. Just months later, Wang Yibo, who had been exploring bold, experimental roles, suddenly signed onto a film with an almost identical tone. Something intimate, something raw, something that felt strangely aligned with Xiao Zhan's latest direction. And fans noticed. The moment the casting news went live, social media erupted. People began pulling up old clips, old interviews, old behind-the-scenes moments where the two men seemed to instinctively gravitate toward the same choices, the same answers, even the same rhythms. Their fashion choices began to match again, both turning toward darker palettes and minimalistic silhouettes, the kind of style that speaks quietly but powerfully. Their ambassadorship shifted toward global humanitarian brands, as if both had reached the same stage of wanting to give more than they take. But the real moment that reignited everything happened unexpectedly. Xiao Zhan attended an art exhibition overseas, a trip done privately, away from the public eye. Only 2 days later, fans spotted Wang Yibo at the same exhibition, walking through the exact same gallery hall, pausing at the same installation Xiao Zhan had admired. No one could explain the timing. No one could say if it was coincidence or something more. But the whispers began instantly. People started digging deeper. They found matching schedules, overlapping cities, similar creative interests, and even the exact same lines quoted in separate interviews. The pattern was too strong to ignore. And then came the post. Xiao Zhan had uploaded a single photo, minimalistic, soft, aesthetic, with an abstract message about moving forward with the courage to grow. Just hours later, Wang Yibo posted an unrelated picture, but the caption carried a nearly identical sentiment. Different words, same message, same meaning. The fandom exploded. Were they communicating? Were they aligning intentionally? Or was this an unspoken bond revealing itself again, even without direct interaction? What made everything more intriguing was how unbothered both seemed by the sudden renewed attention, almost as if they expected it. Almost as if they knew their paths were never meant to diverge completely. And that's when industry insiders began to talk. Rumors surfaced about shared acquaintances reconnecting them behind the scenes. A producer mentioned, off the record, that the two had recently expressed interest in similar scripts. A stylist who had worked with both admitted that the energy around them felt strangely synchronized again, like something was quietly rebuilding. Fans who had followed their journey from the early years felt the shift first. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even obvious to the casual observer. Instead, it was subtle, steady, natural, like two compass needles finding north again. And then came the encounter. A leaked clip from a private event began circulating online. The camera wasn't clear, the angle wasn't perfect, but the moment was unmistakable. Xiao Zhan walked into a restricted backstage area during a brand event, and Wang Yibo was already there, seated casually, talking with the team. Their eyes met for the briefest second, and though the clip ended almost immediately, fans swore they saw something familiar, recognition, warmth, maybe even a hint of shared history. The internet went into a frenzy. For days, hashtags dominated trend lists. People analyzed the clip frame by frame, comparing the timing, the expressions, the posture. Theories piled up. Discussions grew louder. And still, neither actor addressed it. Neither denied it. Neither downplayed it. Instead, they simply continued living their lives in a way that looked suspiciously parallel. 2 upcoming projects announced within days of each other. 2 brand campaigns featuring eerily similar messaging. 2 public appearances with matching understated styling, 2 interviews where they spoke about growth, resilience, and learning to trust again. It was never dramatic, never obvious, never spelled out, but the world saw it. 2 careers moving in harmony once more, 2 lives subtly aligned, 2 people who seemed, despite everything, incapable of drifting too far apart. And the more everyone looked, the clearer it became. Whether intentional or not, Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo were mirroring each other again. And this time, fans believe the story isn't just beginning anew. It's heading somewhere even bigger. Xiao Zhan had always believed that fate played quiet tricks on people. But lately, it felt less like coincidence and more like a strange pattern repeating itself. And every time the pattern appeared, one name kept circling back into the story: Wang Yibo. Years had passed since the Untamed, yet somehow their paths, no matter how distant or separate, kept looping together like invisible threads pulling them into the same direction. At first, fans thought it was branding, then a bit of nostalgia. But the more it happened, the harder it was to deny that something was unfolding behind the scenes that neither man ever planned. The latest moment came unexpectedly. Xiao Zhan had just released a new behind-the-scenes vlog from his film shoot in Iceland, showing breathtaking snowy landscapes and a quiet moment where he whispered, "I feel calm here." The footage went viral instantly. But what struck fans wasn't just the beauty of the video, it was the fact that Wang Yibo, on the very same day, posted a late-night photo wearing a thick winter jacket, with the caption, "Silence feels good sometimes." 2 separate posts, 2 different places, 2 unrelated schedules, yet the vibe, emotion, and timing felt identical. Fans everywhere began saying the same thing: it feels like they're living parallel lives again. Even media outlets couldn't resist. Headlines splashed across platforms: Xiao Zhan finds peace in snow. Wang Yibo shares his quiet night. Comment sections filled with thousands of fans whispering, "How does this keep happening?" But behind the scenes, something even stranger was happening. Xiao Zhan's manager had shown him a news article comparing his travel schedule and Yibo's recent activities. At first, Xiao Zhan laughed softly, adjusting his scarf as he prepared for the next shoot. "People read too much into things," he said. But the moment he closed the door to his trailer, the smile faded slightly. Because deep down, he felt the same thing. A connection he couldn't explain. And while Xiao Zhan was thinking that, Wang Yibo was sitting in his practice room, staring at his phone where the same Iceland clip was playing. He watched the moment Xiao Zhan smiled at the camera, the wind pushing his hair back. Yibo paused the video, leaned back against the wall, and sighed, just once, quietly. "Why does he always look like that?" he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. It wasn't irritation. It wasn't admiration. It was something in between. Something that made him feel like the space between them wasn't really space at all. The parallel moments continued. Xiao Zhan released a short interview talking about growth, saying, "Sometimes you meet people who change you without trying." Hours later, Wang Yibo, in a completely different interview, answered a question about relationships by saying, "Some people stay with you even if they're not around all the time." Fans nearly broke the internet connecting the 2 quotes. Then came the incident that shook everything. At a private industry dinner, one that neither man publicly announced, they unexpectedly crossed paths. No cameras, no fans, no reporters. Just a quiet hallway in a luxury hotel where both had been invited by different directors. Xiao Zhan turned the corner first, adjusting his coat. Wang Yibo was walking toward him, head slightly lowered, reading something on his phone. For a moment, neither said anything. The hallway was too quiet, the moment too sudden. Then Xiao Zhan lifted his head. Wang Yibo stopped walking. And for the first time in months, they looked at each other not through mirror choices or parallel posts, but face to face. Xiao Zhan's lips twitched with the faintest smile. "You've been busy lately," he said softly. Yibo put his phone in his pocket. "So have you," he replied, voice quiet but steady. There was no awkwardness, no tension, just an unspoken understanding filling the space between them. Xiao Zhan took a small step forward. "You saw the clip?" Yibo didn't deny it. "Yeah, it looked peaceful." Xiao Zhan raised a brow. "You posted something similar." Yibo shrugged. "I didn't mean to." Xiao Zhan chuckled. "You never do." Yibo looked directly at him then, eyes sharper than his expression. Maybe it's just the way things are. That sentence lingered in the air longer than anything else they had said. Maybe it really was the way things were. Two people living different lives, making different choices, walking different paths, yet somehow always finding themselves aligned, reflecting each other in ways no one could fully explain. A staff member called Xiao Zhan from the end of the hallway. Another called Yibo from the opposite side. It was time to go. Before he turned away, Xiao Zhan paused. "Take care of yourself," he said. Yibo's reply came just as softly. "You too." As they walked in different directions, they didn't see the way each of them glanced back for a split second. But fans would have noticed. Because some moments didn't need cameras to become iconic. And whether they wanted it or not, the world had already decided. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo weren't just stars. They were two parallel lines that kept bending, closer, closer, almost meeting, again and again. And the story was clearly not over yet.